One of the most frequent questions I get asked on my videos is, "Hey Burns, how do I get my game to look like yours?" Well, the truth is, over the past God knows how many years, I've been slowly switching and changing visual mods as they come out in order to create what you see on screen in all my videos. But today, in this video, I'm going to show you each and every mod I use to transform your Skyrim from vanilla into what you're seeing. From the dense green woodland thickets regenerating Skyrim's forests, to the shrouded coastal mountain fogs icing the northern sea, to the cities in between and all the smaller trinkets included within. This video aims to be a one-stop shop to around 100 visual mods. So sit back and relax and grab your fire extinguisher, because today we're going to completely combust your PC by introducing the next level of Skyrim graphical mods. Before we get into the episode, I want to give a massive thanks to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video.
The following is a safety protocol by Heavy Burns Incorporated.
One of the most important things you can do while being active online is staying protected, and that's why our friends over at Surfshark are offering us a massive 83% off and 3 extra months for free when using code HEAVYBURNS at checkout. But what exactly is Surfshark? Surfshark offers a virtual private network through an easy-to-use app or browser extension that will protect all of your data while traversing the internet. Your account can be accessed across an unlimited number of devices and can even access content that otherwise would have been hid behind other countries' limitations. And while using Surfshark, all of your data is completely encrypted, meaning you will not leave a single trace no matter what you do. And they're even offering you a 30-day money-back guarantee. So click the link in the description, use code HEAVYBURNS at checkout, and you'll get 83% off plus 3 months for free. It doesn't get more straightforward than that. Thank you once again to Surfshark for making videos like these possible, and without further ado, let's get into the episode. Now, to begin this video, we're going to start with the general weather and lighting mods I use to transform the look of my game. And that starts with the very atmosphere around you, by changing the look of the weathers with our first mod, Obsidian Weathers and Seasons. This mod aims to transform your vanilla game into one with a bit more atmosphere, and goes hand in hand with the ENB preset I use in all of my videos, which is of course Rudy ENB for Obsidian Weathers. This is so far my favourite mix of an ENB and weather mod that not only looks great but also injects some colour into your world. And on the notion of lifting up Skyrim's palette, I also throw on the Nolvus Reshade, which really just works to heighten the already existing changes from the weather and ENB by lifting some specific details to give a brighter and more smooth tone. And on the notion of smoother looking visuals is Volumetric Mists, which basically hides a bunch of Skyrim's ugly LODs with distant 3D fogs. For interiors is ELFX, easily the most compatible and patched lighting mod, which I also pair with window shadows, to bring a more detailed and realistic setup to a bunch of interiors. Next is ENB Light, to offer some more dynamic lighting to a bunch of effects and sources in the game. Additionally, to fix the very not so great looking campfire, I use Giant Campfire's cast shadows. And with that, we'll move on to a series of mods designed to add coloured lights to a variety of objects and aspects of your game. Particle Lights for ENB is a series of small changes to a whole bunch of specific items found across Skyrim, which really just adds some extra cool effects and colours to heighten the range of lighting you will see fittingly placed on things that might emit it. These can include everything from plants to undead glowing eyes or Daedric armour and weapons, or really just about anything you could possibly imagine would cast any sort of light. And for the most part, that's going to cover most of our lighting mods that will create a nice base to start building up textures and replacing Flora. So how about we start right there with the tree mod I've used for a while, Jedi Trees. A mod which is almost extinct by now, but is easily the best looking mod for especially the forested regions around the world, and pairs perfectly with our grass mods, which starts with Folkvanger. Grass and Landscape Overhaul, my personal favourite mod to create an incredible and realistic looking grassy habitat, which we will then proceed to enhance further with, you guessed it, Origins of the Forest, which I've covered God knows how many times, but that's because it's important, adding a whole bunch of thick, unkept bushes to the wilderness of Skyrim in order to really immerse you in the world around you, which I'm also using an additional mod to reduce the size of the bushes to a playable level, but you can find that link in the mod list I'll touch on at the end of the video. And as far as our lighting and Flora mods, that's going to pretty much cover it. Now we move on to the more mod heavy side of our game, and that's what textures I use in which order to create my preferred look. So let's start with Skyrim 2018, 19 and 20. 3 separate texture packs which on their own right are massive, but I used together to basically cover a whole bunch of stuff in 3 downloads, which many will be overwritten anyway, but covers a massive range of ground that some of the later mods might miss. But nevertheless, even on its own, these 3 mods could be the only thing you download texture wise and you'd still see a massive difference. But the one thing that instantly we can upgrade further is the look of the rocks and mountains. And that's going to be completely covered by the well-known Majestic Mountains, the light side version, but all are fantastic in their own right, and really provide a beautiful looking surface to cover your mountain ranges at a distance and close up. And in all honesty, I just prefer the lighter, less intense look to all the cliff sides of Skyrim. But next is Noble Skyrim, a huge texture pack once again, which covers a whole bunch of aspects, ranging from the wood wall textures to stone, to bring, in my opinion, a more clean and easy to look at alternative to pretty much most architecture in the world space. But going further with that is Solitude HD by Cleverchaff, once again just used to heighten what we already have by targeting Solitude in particular, with amazing fantasy looking textures which really make the city's architecture stand out compared to others in the game. But moving further into the northern regions, I use Fluffy Snow, a texture replacement for the snow which adds that extra bit of detail and depth to the icy ground you see almost 50% of the time. And as far as the basic textures you'll see, those pretty much cover it, although textures are only half of the problem. Static Mesh Improvement mod is a mod which I think everyone's heard of, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it here. And if you haven't guessed by now, it increases the poly count on a massive number of meshes, making them basically more 3D. And this sets us up for one of my favourite visual mods of all time, the High Poly Project, which essentially does the same thing as SMIM to the next level, and a little more stylized, by changing the mesh and in some cases textures too of a whole bunch of items found across the world, making them, well, more higher poly. And next in our list is going to be Water for EMB. Still to this day my preferred water mod, as it has multiple options for colour variants. And I'm personally a big fan of colour in my game and videos, so Gatorade Water it is. But you can choose a more tamed realistic version if you prefer. And the last of our base texture packs is going to be a Midian-born Book of Silence, a mod which is well known for its vanilla armour retextures. However, it does include a whole bunch of awesome reskins outside of that in creatures and objects, which is really going to tie everything together in an incredibly looking way. And that's going to cover the majority of the big textures you're going to see across your playthrough. But while already your game would be looking incredible, I did say I'd show you pretty much everything I use. So that means it's time to go over all the individual extra mods I sprinkle on top. Now in this section you're going to see, well, a lot of mods that you might see as minuscule, but together make a huge difference to the look and tone of your game. Because after all, clutter is everywhere, so you're going to be seeing it a whole bunch. So let's start off with a selection of mods by the author named El Soper. These mods aim to cover most of the items that are everywhere in your game, that you'll see all the time, but don't really take notice to change. Well, now's the time to make that jump, because they really do make a difference, especially when you have a bunch of other texture packs on. You really start to notice which items have been left vanilla and which haven't. So you'll want to make these small changes, because I promise you'll actually start to notice these items more now they look better. And overall, they're just going to really tie your game together in a neat bow by making sure you've covered all your bases in not only texture-wise, but meshes too. Personally, I think El Soper's smaller mods like these are some of my favourite to see and download. Pretty much whenever they release a mod, I download it because I already know it's going to be good. But El Soper isn't the only author to be releasing these individual changes to specific items. So let's take a look at a few more which I use on top of these. 3D furniture littering most interiors, or new dock textures and meshes. Ice floats now come with 3D meshes, along with smaller rocks dotted everywhere, and my favourite windmill so far. I also use some extra textures for things you see all the time like hay, candles, sconces and chandeliers, along with Cathedral's 3D upgrades to many of the harvestable ingredients found around Skyrim. Additionally, to make sure we have pretty much everything covered, I also use rustic clothing. And finally, for the environment, I use mods such as Dwemer Pipework Reworked, Web's SSE, Real 3D Walls, with blended roads for roads, and a smaller selection of mods to pretty much cover every item in your game. And that's going to do it for this video, but before you bounce, I do have to say, there are way too many mods to be able to link them in the description this time around. So what I've done is create a big static channel on my Discord server with everything you need to know about this list, along with specific tweaks for Northus Reshade, and a few extra additional mods which I wasn't able to get to in this video. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care everyone.